Hi, welcome back to the Inspectagators. This is Rory.
And this is Grack.
And this week we are discussing the disappearance of the Beaumont Children. This case is actually done in Australia.
Australia, you say?
I do say.
Good day, mate. Can't do an Australian accent, but I can sure try.
You can sure try, and I'm sure you've insulted lots of Australian people.
That's my goal.
So, this case has 3 victims. These are the 3 Beaumont children. It was Jane, who was the oldest, she was 9, Arna, who was 7, and Grant, who was 4.
Oh, they're so young.
Yeah, they're really, really little.
Oh.
Which makes me really sad.
Yeah.
This case took place in Adelaide, Australia, near a beach called Glenelg. And the date was January 26, 1966, on Australia Day.
Good day, I guess. That's all I got from the Australia department. But that's like the middle of winter. But in Australia, I guess that's like really warm.
Yeah, because everything's like flipped.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping right into this case. At 10 a.m. on Wednesday, the 26th of January, the 3 Beaumont children left home and hopped on the bus for an unsupervised trip to the beach.
Wait, who was taking them? They just got on like the city bus or something?
Yeah. So in 1966, this was considered common and okay.
Oh, how the times have changed.
Yeah. You would just, give your children some money and send them on a bus and be like, be home by this certain time.
Oh, it's like the thing, it's like be home before like the street lights go on. It's just a lot more freedom.
Yeah, I suppose so. So, the kids were supposed to go to the beach, have a good time, and be home no later than 2.
Keyword, supposed to.
Supposed to. But the thing is, they never ended up going home.
Oh boy.
So at 7:30, the parents of the Beaumont children, Jim and Nancy, would call the police and report their children missing. Just over an hour later, the police would start searching the beach where the children had been playing. But news of the case ended up spreading really, really fast, and the police had hundreds of volunteers offering to help search for the children, and people coming forward with information about them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. This would eventually lead to one of the biggest, search parties in Southern Australian history.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
good that the community was so supportive and all that.
Exactly, and you'll see throughout the rest of the case that the community ends up being, even more supportive. Maybe not necessarily in the best of ways.
Uh-oh.
No, nothing bad.
Oh, okay.
It just didn't seem like a practical way to be supportive.
Oh boy. Okay.
You'll see what I mean.
I got you.
Multiple witnesses had stated that they had seen the children with a tall, tanned, thin-faced man with short blonde hair who was in his mid-30s.
Sounds like a lot of Australian men.
Exactly. So it's not like...
Did he have a boomerang? He goes, shwakey, shwakey, cronky, mate.
I don't think he said that or had a boomerang. I don't think they lived in the outback if they lived in Adelaide.
I don't know. Maybe he came from the outback.
Maybe he hopped in with his
croc.
kangaroo.
He hopped on his croc and went, good day. Would you like to take a ride on me croc back to the outback? And the kids are like, oh, heck yeah.
Sounds like something
I'm sorry
else.
I'm offending Australian people.
No.
Y'all are cool. I was just thinking croc's like the shoe and also the
Oh.
The alligator is a crocodile. I'm a little stupid.
I don't know if they have those in the outback. No water.
He imported them from somewhere else.
He imported the crocodiles.
That's why Australia has crocodiles.
I don't even think Australia has crocodiles.
Well, they do now.
Grok said that there's crocodiles, so there are. So, multiple witnesses said that the children did not seem distressed when they were with the man.
Yeah.
Which they thought was kind of odd because especially the oldest, Jane, is usually really shy around people. So...
Could have been someone they knew?
Maybe, I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But the dad, in one of the sources, it stated that he had already gone and, contacted most of the family, and no one seemed to be like, oh, Uncle Jimmy hasn't been around recently, like he should be. Mm. And they'd be like, you can't have the kids.
Uncle Jimmy, where are the kids?
I know they say most missing person cases, the person's actually just with a family member.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, but, these kids never turned back up.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of a red
and
flag.
it wasn't like, hey, you know who else went missing around the same time? You know who else was being sketchy? Like, that didn't happen.
Yeah.
They weren't, like...
just straight up just gone.
Yeah. So this kind of led to the suspicion that they think the man might have been grooming the kids.
Oh.
To get, like, kidnapped on that day, so that they were like, oh, it's a nice man, you know, whatever, he wouldn't hurt us.
So,
and
like,
they just...
this is going over, like, weeks? Or...
Yeah. Because this wasn't like a
quick thing that just kind of, like, it happened. It was, like, over time. It's kind of, like...
Because, like, think about it. If you can send your kids to the beach, and they come back home, and everything's perfectly fine, and it doesn't cost you a lot of money, and it makes them happy, you're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah, and if that guy can, you know, make an impression that he's a good, nice guy, then eventually they're gonna be fine with it. They're gonna be like, oh, he's just taking us, you know, somewhere for fun, go get ice cream or something. It's like,
exactly.
If you build that trust, then the kids are gonna trust you.
Exactly. So that's obviously really creepy. So it was reported that the children walked from the beach to a bakery and bought cakes and a meat pie. Except their mother had obviously not given them enough money
to buy that much.
Yeah, it was said that she gave them 6 shillings, which was enough for the bus fare, and some, like, light food while they were there.
Mm-hmm.
One of the sources says that the kids paid with a £1 note, which in today's currency, judging for, like, inflation and such, it was, like, 25 American dollars.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So these kids obviously weren't just, like, walking around with that.
Mm-hmm.
They got it from somewhere. It was also reported that the last time they were seen was when they were walking down the street. This was down the main road. They were holding hands and smiling and walking in the general direction of their house. And the postman was the last person to see them.
Yeah.
So it kind of looks like they were starting to go home, and they didn't seem upset.
Mm-mm.
But then
like they were just going home.
Yeah, but then they just never made it home. The weird thing is, though, is that they were supposed to hop on the bus to go back home.
And they were walking?
Mm-hmm.
That is really weird.
Mm-hmm. So after a month, the investigation started to stall, because the police only had so much to work with.
Yeah.
There wasn't a whole lot of evidence here because the kids just disappeared.
They just went.
Like, they had a lot of people saying, oh yeah, I saw the kids. But that can only get you so far, you know?
Yeah, like, you hear where they were, but it's like, doesn't help to where they went.
Mm-hmm. So, because the investigation was going on for a month, the people who were volunteering to help and stuff were really itching to get this case moving. Like, they wanted these kids found.
Mm-hmm.
So, a local businessman by the name of Barry Blackwell flew in a Dutch clairvoyant named Gerard Croiset, who was apparently known for helping the police solve hard-to-solve cases.
Really? So, like someone who can, like, see in the past and the future, that kind of stuff?
So, a clairvoyant is a person who claims to have a supernatural ability to perceive events in the future or beyond.
Yeah.
So, they claim they can see into the future.
But how does that help a police case that happened in the past?
It only happened in the past by, like, a month. So, he's thinking that maybe if the kids weren't dead yet, he could see where they were gonna be buried, maybe? Or, like, I don't know, maybe he'd get a vision of...
how the case would resolve?
I don't know, maybe he just got visions. He was like, my intuition says...
Clairvoyant sounds cool, I'm gonna use that.
So, they flew him in, and he said that he thought the bodies of the children were buried under a newly constructed warehouse that was in the city. So the police and the city didn't recommend tearing down this warehouse.
Yeah.
But the people were like, oh, but there's a chance that they could be there. So they raised money to have this warehouse torn down.
How much you want to bet they weren't there?
Exactly. Nothing was found.
Imagine funding that, and it's like, it's perfectly good warehouse.
Exactly.
I mean, I guess I understand suspicion and all that, but it's like, at some point you gotta ask yourself, was it worth it? No.
Exactly. And I know in a lot of these cases, people are kind of like, oh, you know, the police are always, like, low-key kind of corrupt. Like, I bet they weren't doing everything they could.
Was a construction worker who just wanted more work hours so he could make more money. Because they had to destruct the warehouse.
But the clairvoyant was from the Netherlands.
That's what they want you to think. He's from Australia, and he works in the construction business, and he made some bank doing construction work. Well, that's my theory.
Sucks for everybody else, I guess. So, 2 years later, in 1968, Jim and Nancy received 2 letters that claimed to have been written by their eldest daughter, Jane. So Jane would have been 11 by then. One of them said that they had been taken by a man and were living in Victoria, another city in Australia, and that they should meet the man at a set meeting point so that they could trade off for the children, but they could not bring any police. So their parents obviously jumped at this chance.
Yeah, but why did they wait that long to do that?
That's where it kind of gets a little, what is this type of thing. So the parents obviously went to the meeting point, but no one showed up. So the parents were very obviously, like, disappointed and heartbroken. But they ended up receiving another letter claiming that the man had seen a detective following them and had left. Years later, keep in mind, this says years later, multiple sources claim that years later, it was claimed to have been a cruel joke by a man.
Oh no.
But here's the weird thing. So they said that it was a cruel joke and that their daughter hadn't actually written the letters, but handwriting experts say that she had actually written them, or written at least one of them.
Yeah.
I think they said it was like the first one.
And then someone kind of continued on with it and made it into a joke.
Well, no, because the second letter didn't say, haha, loser, you got pranked.
Yeah.
The second letter only said, there was a cop tailing you, man didn't show up. So that's really weird. And the fact that it came 2 years after the kids had disappeared. So think about that. Think about how heartbroken you are as a parent. You just
I was thinking about that. I'm like, how hard would that be?
You just lost all 3 of your kids. One who was still practically a baby.
Yeah.
In one swoop. And then you get a letter from your oldest daughter
saying there's a possibility of, like, getting us back.
Exactly. And then you have that ripped away from you.
And then told it was a joke.
Exactly. Even though you had a professional tell you that your daughter did write that letter.
Yeah.
The thing about this case, though, is that there aren't that many suspects. Because there's only one main one.
Yeah.
I had to dig
to find multiple
suspects. So here's the thing, though. All of the articles that I've been reading on this case, most of them only used one man as the suspect, right?
Yeah.
This suspect wasn't actually a suspect until, like, 2013 or even later than that.
Whoa, that's, like, really recent.
Yeah. So what happened, basically, was in 2013, a news channel started looking into the case.
Wow.
They kind of decided, okay, let's figure this out. Like, let's actually do this. So a man by the name of Harry Phipps was the main suspect that they labeled. So Phipps' son, his name was Hayden, who would have been 15 in 1966, told police that the Beaumont children had been in his house the day that they disappeared.
That's a little suspicious.
Yeah. Hayden also said that his father had been abusive towards him growing up. However, his dad died in 2004, so police couldn't question him.
Time to resort to ghosts, I guess.
Gotta bust out the spirit box, buddy.
Time to bring out all the supernatural stuff. We're going,
ghost hunting. So this info resulted in 2 men coming forward saying that Phipps had hired them to dig a large hole at an old factory that Phipps used to own called the North Plymouth Factory. They dug the hole a few days after the children disappeared, and they were worried that they might have dug a grave.
Ooh, that clairvoyant might have been right there, buried under somewhere in a factory, not a workplace or whatever.
A warehouse.
Yeah.
But that clairvoyant was wrong, because we didn't figure this out until, like, 2013.
I guess they looked into the future. Woo!
A little too much future.
a little too much, but,
Here's the thing, though. They excavated the whole factory site. They didn't find any bones.
Really?
Nothing.
So why did he have them build, like, what would you call it?
The hole?
My brain short-circuited. The hole?
I have no idea. Like, why would you just hire 2 men who didn't, like, previously work for him?
He buried them boneless.
What?
I don't know. You said they didn't find any bones, but I guess you could take out the bone.
And just put the meat sack back in there?
Okay,
like, what?
That's really morbid. Sorry, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how this would work at all. Like, that's, I guess, it's like all the red flags. All the red arrows are pointing at you. But at the same time, there's, like, those couple things where it's just, like, refuting it. It's like, what?
I don't even know. Like, this case is really odd.
In, like, a really weird way.
I don't know either. Like, it doesn't...
Like, the dots are there, but they're not connecting. I just like deep holes. That's what he was like. I gotta build a pool. I gotta build a pool in the factory.
Yeah, he was like, this will be nice for my workers.
They like holes.
So, that's the main suspect. That is who all of the articles that I've been reading say that that's their best guess on who did it.
Yeah, seems like it so far.
So, the next... it's technically two people, because the articles are kind of, like, wonky, and these two weren't really separated as separate suspects. They kind of, like, did it together if they did do it. So the two suspects are Alan Max McIntyre and Anthony Allen Monroe. So, in an adventure journal written by McIntyre's son, who was abused by Monroe, keep in mind.
Is this the same 15-year-old kid?
No, different kid.
Okay, different kid.
It said that the two men would frequent the beach and dive. So this adventure journal type thing was this kid was really young. I don't remember how old he was. He was really young, though. And it was this thing that he and his friends would keep. And his dad and his family friend, which were Max and Monroe, would go and dive at this beach.
Yeah.
And it was written in the journal that they would come along a lot.
Yeah.
So Monroe is a convicted pedophile.
Oh.
Yeah. And a copy of this adventure journal / diary was given to the police by a journalist by the name of Brian Littley, who ended up urging the police to go seek the original owner who wrote it. So, long story short, the police tried to prosecute both of these men because they're like, okay, listen, this is kind of sketch.
Yeah.
Like, they could definitely have done this.
But they didn't have any, like, concrete evidence.
Exactly. And I
believe a lot of that happens. Like, there's, like, the thing, like, you know they probably did it because, like, of this, like, non-concrete evidence, but you can't convict because there isn't any concrete evidence, and it's so frustrating because that's so many cases.
But not only that, but the lawyer that, I think it was Monroe, the lawyer that Monroe had was actually really good, and so every time the police kept throwing him stuff at him, the lawyer was like, yeah, no, that's not gonna work. But the son of McIntyre said that one day he came home to both of the men in his living room. His dad had his head in his hands and he was softly swearing to himself, and that sand and blood was found in Monroe's car.
That's a little convicting.
His sister claims that she saw their father wearing a bloody shirt and had bodies in the back of the car.
That's a little convicting!
Just a little. So, the siblings have demanded that a filled-in well on their father's property, just outside Adelaide, needs to be dug up because they think that the bodies of the kids might be in there.
I wouldn't blame them if they thought that. That sounds like it could be a very real possibility.
Exactly. Did you ever see the movie 1922?
The one that's based off the book?
Yeah, the one by Stephen King.
Yeah.
Did you see the movie?
I've seen parts of it.
Okay, so that was one of the things that they did in that movie was they dropped the body in the well and then said, oh, the cow fell in the well. So they'd have an excuse to fill the well and hide the body.
Yeah.
Because if the body's at the bottom of the well, you're not going to go and unearth the whole well. Because think about how deep a well is.
Very deep.
Exactly. So that would make sense.
Yeah, that would.
But the thing is, no one's gone to try to unfill that well. And then Monroe, however, is currently awaiting sentencing because he pleaded guilty to abusing McIntyre's son and another boy between 1965 and 1983. So
he knew what he did was wrong. Like, he just was straight up just like, yeah, I'm guilty.
Well, think about it. They kept hitting him with so much stuff, and they probably had evidence of him abusing the kids. So he actually moved to Cambodia to run a bar in the mid to late 2000s before he flew back to Adelaide last year to face the child abuse charges.
I'd say good for him, but really, what?
Yeah. So not exactly an upstanding citizen here.
No, he's really not.
So that's it for the suspect list.
Yeah.
Like, that's quite literally all we've got. And I had to work to find the ones that I do have. What are your thoughts? Like, do you have any theories on this?
Well, the blood in the car and on the shirt sounds very,
Damning.
yeah, very, very damning. And so it's like, I don't know why anyone hasn't looked into the well. Like, that sounds like some, like, serious issues with the dad and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I would at least check. I mean, they got that many people to, like... I know that was, like, when it first kind of happened. They got so much people on it. But it's, like, if you had a possibility of, like, closing that case, especially if you can, like, just dig up a well, I would definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then what was the other one again? Can we recap a little bit on that?
On the first one?
Yeah.
So that one...
Oh, that was the hole guy.
Yeah. The one where he hired them to dig a hole and they were like, oh, I think I dug those kids' graves.
Both theories sound like they could be, like, very plausible, and they have evidence behind them that it's like, yeah, bro,
exactly.
That happened.
Especially since Phipps, the first guy, was said to have been abusing his son.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other guy, Monroe, was said to have abused McIntyre's son.
Mm-hmm. So both issues kind of have, like, they both have, like, backgrounds of having issues with kids.
Mm-hmm. But I'm not sure. Because, like, when you think about it, like, the two guys coming in and being like, oh, yeah, he had us dig a hole. But then they excavated the whole thing and there was nothing there.
Yeah.
But then you have this kid saying that he saw sand and blood in the car.
And they're not, like, investigating that well.
Exactly.
And, like, what else could that be? That literally is basically either it's the kids or it's some other kids that they got or people that they killed.
Exactly. And, I mean, I'm pretty, like, you can't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it's easier to, like, excavate a well than it is to do a whole factory.
Yeah.
So, I feel like they could just undig it really fast, see if there's a body there or not, and then call it good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's just really odd because these kids just up and disappeared.
Mm-hmm. And they didn't seem worried at all. It was just...
Exactly. Like, they literally said that the kids did not seem distressed at all.
So it was either a pedophile grooming them and then taking them away, or...
Well, that's what did happen. Yeah. Like, they're pretty sure that he was grooming them. But yeah, this guy showed up, took them.
Yeah, it's like one of those cold cases you just kind of look at and you're like, that happened, but we don't know how, and, like, no one knows. And we're trying, but no one knows.
The thing is that people are still really obsessed with this case.
So why don't they dig up the well?
I don't know. Most of the articles I was looking at were from, like, 2018.
Really?
2018, 2017, right around there.
So why don't they fund the well?
I don't know. Like I said, I had to dig to find those two suspects.
Oh, so it's kind of more of a low-key aspect of the case.
I guess, but the thing is that Phipps is dead.
Yeah.
You can't prosecute a dead man.
I guess so.
You can't make his ghost stand trial.
Like some closure for the case.
I guess, but they have no concrete proof that he did it.
Yeah.
Because there were no bones found there. It does not make sense. Okay.
Pun time?
Pun time.
Pun time!
Get your puns. Welcome to the pun territory.
The pun zone.
Yes. Grock's favorite time of the entire podcast.
Oh, yeah. Let's do some Australian puns.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah.
If you're Australian and you're listening to this, I apologize in advance.
Australian puns. Here we come.
She didn't even spell Australian right.
I'm trying. Pun number 1. Why did the manager hire the marsupial? Because he was qualified.
I don't have anything for that. I really don't.
Wait. Why did the wombat cross the road?
Why?
To see its flatmate. And number 3. What do you call a lazy baby kangaroo?
What?
A pouch potato.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. And that's it for the pun zone.
It's the pun territory.
The pun territory, the pun land, the punishment.
Ah. Good job.
Thank you. I try.
You're welcome.
And that's all for today, folks. Doot. Ah!
Oh, man.
Stay fresh, homies.
So that's it for this week's episode of the Inspectagators. Tune in next week for our next case. And this is Rory signing off.
And this is Grack signing off.
Bye.
Hasta la pasta.